Well, hello and welcome back. Now, a 30-year-old man who died last month at one of the UK's leading hospitals would still be alive if Martha's Rule, which gives the right to a second opinion, had been in place, his father has claimed. Jay Patel says his son Balram was given unsuitable treatment which had not previously worked, and he was refused a second opinion. He's released an audio call with nurses in which he tried to persuade them that the oral medicine was not working.
Conversation was oral would work. We've come home and it hasn't worked.
Okay, let me feed that back to them.
It hasn't worked, and he's putting on weight, and now he's desaturating at a hell of a rate, and he's struggling breathing, and we're saying, you know what, up it from 180 milligrams to 200 milligrams, and that's going to make all the difference.
Well, we have to just see if that will work.
We don't have the privilege of seeing it will work.
Okay then, I'll get back to the consultant.
Well, responding to his claims, a spokesperson for Guy's and St Thomas's NHS Foundation Trust said, "We wish to extend our deepest sympathies to Balram's family. Balram had incredibly complex health needs and had been under our care throughout his life, during which he was cared for by an extensive multidisciplinary team. Any concerns the family have will be fully investigated." Well, to discuss his son's case, Jay Patel joins me now. Jay, obviously, I want to give you our condolences for the death of your son. And you blame the system in a way, don't you? First, because it's clear from that message that you were convinced what was the right and what was the wrong course of action, and that the wrong course of action had been followed.
Well, yeah, basically they themselves convinced, because on the 28th of July they made a note. They put in one IV diuretic because it all didn't work. And then when we asked them on the 30th, when there was a note on the door of the ward to say start wearing masks, and there was COVID on the ward, they decided, and we agreed with them, the best thing is for Balram to come home and have treatment at home and continue with the IV diuretics, which they started to implement. They put a line in, a PICC line, to assist with that. Then they found out the actual district nurses don't honour or don't have the facility to support IV diuretics, so they put subcutaneous pumps on him, one on each thigh, and they continue with that. And then they found out that they don't respect those either. So in our borough, the district nurses don't employ either of those two forms of medication. So then they said to me, go back to oral diuretics. I said, well, they never worked in the hospital 5 days ago. How are they going to work now? You went ahead and put oral IV on because they didn't work. You look for district nurses. So we actually went in quite a few different places to provide them, the nurses, to give the medication at home, but they didn't approach them. Well, they didn't approach one party, the other one they didn't follow properly. They agreed to discharge us on the proviso that we've got full support. I said, no, I want a second opinion, because I cannot believe anybody in their right mind would allow oral diuretics for Balram, because they never worked. And so that's what they did. They discharged us at home with the oral diuretics, and then you heard the conversation a few days later when he was really, really very unwell. And I asked them, pleaded them to please reconsider. And they said, they'll come back to me, and they never did.
And the reason that you're highlighting this now, apart from the fact that you clearly have very, very strong opinions about the treatment that your son has, is this specific issue of Martha's Law, whereby people in your situation who are convinced that they're getting the wrong treatment should have, in the future, the right to a second opinion.
Martha's Law is part of it. Balram was failed because of 5 or 6 different things. If they'd given us a second opinion, I'm sure he'd be here now. But example, he went into A&E. They spent 6 hours after seeing his lungs are saturated before they started IV diuretics. What were they waiting for? And it didn't end there. He died at 4 o'clock in the morning after they started giving the IV at 1. At 4:40, I went downstairs to see the coroner, and they had even the wrong cause of death. They never even put pulmonary edema on his death certificate. I had to fight after my son had just died to convince them the true cause of death.
And this is one of the things that 99% of people in your situation, in the first throes of grief, the thought of battling an establishment is overwhelming, and a lot of people don't take that fight up, even when they're convinced that something has gone drastically wrong and that lessons do need to be learnt. It's just too difficult to take on that fight.
It is. I mean, Balram's 30 years old. We had a lot of issues, but my philosophy throughout all of his hospital